Just Not Chocolate, a show about ZK products where we break them down with rich flavors and sweet insights. I'm Omer, and today I'll be co-hosting with Queenie. We're excited to have Jonathan Rouach, CEO and co-founder of Qedit, here with us today. We are looking forward to hearing about the latest in privacy tech adoption and standardization. John, it's great to have you here. Would you please introduce yourself and your role?
Yeah, hi everyone. So I'm CEO of a company called Qedit that deals with zero knowledge proofs for quite some time now. Before that, I was a co-founder of a company called Bits of Gold, which is the largest crypto exchange in Israel. And I have a few other roles in the industry. I'm executive director at ZKProof.org, where we standardize zero knowledge proof with all of the industry. And I'm very excited to be here.
Awesome. We're happy to have you. So Qedit is it's quite a dinosaur in the space, right? Which means you've been around for a long time in the ZK space. So I guess the first question is, what keeps you going after all these years?
I would say that the solutions that zero knowledge proof provides are not implemented yet in the wild, where we still have a lot to do to have this technology reach its potential. It's true, we started in 2016 looking at bringing zero knowledge proof to enterprise blockchain and to advance the state of standardization of zero knowledge, but that's far from being accomplished. But every year that goes by, there's more and more proof that this is the right technology to be betting on, and that's a core part of what gets me going. We're so far from seeing what this thing can achieve, and every year we're achieving more and more as an industry.
That's fantastic to hear. Indeed, I guess that you've been around for ups and downs, and it's really nice to hear kind of like how you are here playing the long game all the way to mass adoption. I wonder, maybe, since there is some lineage now in Qedit, you've done different projects, looked at the industry from different angles. Maybe you can take us through some of like through memory lane, like give us, few interesting anecdotes or success stories, failure stories, something in between, like something you want to share.
Sure. Well, I guess I'll start with when I was first introduced to zero knowledge proofs. That was in San Jose in 2013. There was a big Bitcoin event, and a really interesting person went on stage and described what was then called zero cash. It was Eli Ben Sasson, and I went to Eli afterwards and I asked him, what is this magic all about, and how come it's only used in blockchain? Are there going to be more places where you see this happening? And it started a conversation of many, many years. I've been following the work of Zcash, which is the evolution of this zero cash protocol, ever since there was the very first launch and the trusted ceremony where they burnt Peter Todd, now aka Satoshi, is burning a computer to prove that his part of the trusted ceremony can be trusted. So I've been following this space for quite some time, since really more than 10 years. I would say that my personal high moments in the space were meeting with Shafi Goldwasser and then inviting her to be an advisor at Qedit, and with Professor Goldwasser's help, starting the steering committee of ZK Proof. This is the starting point of an effort to bring the industry together and have a look at the past 30 years of development, now almost 40, right, like, of development in the zero knowledge proof space. You're right, it's ups and downs in hopes and disillusions, but I think we're on a big upward slope of for the zero knowledge proof community.
So we'll get to ZK proof in a moment, but still, this is a product podcast, and I do want to ask you about product. So do tell us latest news. I know you've done an awesome proof of concept lately. Can you share more about about this work, and in general how you bring closer ZK to the industry, the broader industry?
Sure. So the latest thing we've worked on is actually something called the Digital Shekel Challenge. There's an effort here in Israel by the central bank to try to understand what would be the uses of a digital shekel. And we proposed to verify zero knowledge proofs as a condition to moving money in this new form of cash. And we tried to create a use case that was embodying that, and that was resale of plane tickets, of airplane tickets. The idea is that there's a buyer and a seller, and the buyer would pay, but the money would be conditioned on the verification of a zero knowledge proof that the name correctly changed on the website of the airplane, the airplane company. So this is implemented under the hood with something called TLS Notary that uses some forms of zero knowledge proofs. TLS Notary is a project by the Ethereum Foundation that serves as the basis of many other projects in this space of let's say, identity and attestations. So that this proof of concept demonstrated how you can use attestations from the real world and actually have an easier form of transaction rather than waiting for either one side to send the money or the other side to change the name on the ticket. It can be in a way atomic. It also got feedback from people that do not come from this space, that they finally understand what are possible uses of these advanced techniques. Nowhere, of course, on the product it says zero knowledge proof. This is the furthest we go is to talk about a secure screenshot. That's all people need to know. But under the hood, it's pretty advanced techniques.
That's super exciting, John. I think that's the real world use case that we want to see that can adopt zero knowledge proof technology. So I think ZK attestation is not a new story. I think it used to be there like several years ago. Maybe some relevant topics are like ZK DID or things like that. So I'm curious, what's difference in terms of the landscape right now, like around ZK attestation? What changed and what hasn't changed?
I think what the one thing that is changing is the fact that more and more people are comfortable with the gesture of crypto in general. They have a wallet, they're moving things around with their wallet, and they're beginning to see these extensions on their browsers or these apps as something that they're comfortable using. And once you have that, then the leap from using these things for other things than just moving assets around or NFTs or meme coins or whatever, just using it in more advanced ways, the leap is not that high. So you can convince consumers to do more sophisticated gestures. And attestation is maybe a little bit far on that sophistication level because you have the website you're going to. The website is unmodified, right? If you have an attestation from GitHub that you're a good developer, or from your bank that you have some statement, the bank didn't change any code or anything in their server. It's all happening on top of it with additional software. And people are beginning to get used to this idea that you can use extra software to prove things, and this software is more involved in your real life. It's not anymore this bubble of crypto and then you have your real life on the side, but it can be more connected.
So less education is required nowadays, and the technology is getting more and more mature.
I think so. And the use case itself is appealing to developers as well. So you have more variations on this ZK attestation idea. The idea has been around, you're right, for a really long time, but the realization of it is becoming more and more simple to use. The demonstrations are much more easy. You have another project called Rarimo, the one with the biometric, passports. So, from the perspective of a company that has been around a long time in the space, we've seen these use cases discussed, and we've attempted early proof of concepts of these attestations. But now the infrastructure is much more easily accepting of these advanced use cases, and they become much more, straightforward for everyone to use.
Nice. So we can expect to see more real-world use cases utilizing the so-called technology of ZKTLS very soon.
I think so. You can see it with adaptations of this technology to Ethereum, Solana, Sui, and other blockchains that are trying to bring more and more the real real person to their ecosystems. One similar project. It's not really an attestation, a generic attestation. It's ZK login from Sui. That was the first time I got the demonstration from a blockchain ecosystem that cares about hiding all the cryptography from the user. It was called ZK Send. Today they decided to call it Get Stashed, which I don't know why, but I guess that's the marketing approach to it. That demonstrated how you can have a wallet with just your Google login, and it was again a kind of subversive way of using Google through the use of techniques with zero knowledge proofs.
It's interesting that you landed on this specific area of ZK, with a lot of privacy, which is good. Are there any other like hot areas in the ZK landscape that you find personally interesting, or that are gonna have a breakthrough into real world use cases in the upcoming years, short time period?
I mean, I keep coming back to the basics of moving assets around with privacy. So this is the world of Zcash. We talked with we have been around the Zcash ecosystem for many years, doing audits to every time Zcash moves to a new protocol. So Qedit has been there to try to figure out how to help. And recently we started helping much more with Zcash shielded assets. So the ability to issue assets on the Zcash protocol and have assets that are not just the ZEC token move around with full privacy. So that's maybe the original need for Zcash, for zero knowledge proofs, is being able to have transactions with full privacy. We've seen in parallel the growth of the non-privacy part, the proof of correct execution of logic. So all of the snark world, we've seen this grow and find a very natural place in the ecosystem, replacing the need to replicate compute everywhere on the blockchain with just creating a proof and doing a very simple verification that the proof is valid. This is, of course, a huge area of development and a big force pushing the ZK world forward, it actually meant that ZK as a name is now more about the snark than the ZK. From our perspective at Qedit, we tend to focus more on the privacy aspects, and we look at all the implementations of Scale as something that once it's widely deployed will solve a part of the blockchain trade-offs, but you will still need this other part, which is how do we transact on these infrastructure with privacy. That's something that at Qedit we focus. We also have a big, I would say, angle on trying to keep privacy useful, but not useful for bad uses. So trying to introduce ways of adding compliance to the work that we do. So in Zcash, it's an extremely difficult task to be a company that focuses on very very accurate and high level technology that solves the problems that Zcash have on creating assets, but at the same time advocating for compliance in a place where most people see compliance as a slippery slope to give the powers that be a door into the ecosystem. It's a very tight balance. But we've decided that we believe in all these aspects, the privacy and the responsible use of privacy, and we're fighting to introduce both at the same time.
Is this like something you guys are working on at Qedit? Zcash-like chains, private or public, with privacy baked in and also some auditability or like other advanced features?
So we're not the only one thinking about these problems, but in particular on Zcash, we proposed something called verifiable encryption, which is the ability for the issuer of a stablecoin to be able to basically see everything if they need for compliance reasons, but for anyone else on the blockchain not being able to see anything because it's all zero knowledge proofs. So every time there's a transaction, as a person doing the transaction, you're also reporting, encrypting to the stablecoin the details of the transaction, but not to everyone else. You're reporting to the stablecoin issuer. And the idea is that anyway, the issuer having the fiat funds regulated in a bank, they're already under regulatory pressure. So we are not really adding an additional condition. The issuer can anyway decide not to respect some coin because they don't know what it did. So this is a way for the issuer of a coin, think of USDC. So they can Circle can have the same means of verification that they have today on Ethereum or Solana or other blockchains, but the rest of us can have a pretty good confidentiality. This is not, it's not the privacy that the Zcash ecosystem wants. They want to never think about the possibility of transactions being revealed at all. That's the consensus today in Zcash. But as a set of features, it's something that at Qedit we've been working on quite a lot, and we believe that at some point it will make sense as a sort of way to make those worlds meet, law enforcement and privacy advocates. At some point we will meet in similar places.
John, I'm curious. So when you try to introduce a better privacy solution utilizing ZK, especially to your clients outside of blockchain, what's the biggest challenge there? Is it technology or the cost, the education or compliance or anything else?
I think so. Today, most people don't really think about privacy of crypto. It's not a main focus of for most users of crypto. But nobody is imagining sending their credit card details in a way that's not encrypted, or just revealing it to a random third party. So if the biggest challenge is that you need to basically solve many different areas at the same time. You need to solve identity in a similar way that I described with ZK attestation. You need to solve privacy for the transaction in a way that I described with Zcash, and you need to solve compliance in ways that we're developing. All those things have to be delivered at once so that people can have trust in the entire offer. And because all of that is happening with very advanced math, you also need to make sure that if people are transacting billions of dollars on these ecosystems, they need to trust the math and the process that the zero knowledge proof was created. So there's also, even among us engineers, when we're preparing the products for the wider public, we have to pay attention on how we build our products and how to make them bug-free and secure. So it's a battle on many fronts at once to provide a replacement for money.
That actually led to my next question about security. So I've noticed that some people assume zero knowledge technology is inherently secure because of its validity properties. But are there any specific attack vectors or security risks we should be mindful of when it comes to ZK systems?
Definitely, it's written by humans. Today, it's still written by humans, so it has all the advantages and disadvantages of that. And so the possibility of proving things and making a bug in the proof, that the fact that that can exist, it means that we need to pay a lot of to pay attention and have processes that are very well executed when you're building the software system. Because if you have a bug in regular systems, everyone sees the bug, in regular blockchains, everyone sees the bug, and maybe it leads to, big thefts or hacks or things like this, but it's happening in the clear. Now, if you're on a zero knowledge proof system and you have a bug, then those bugs can be undetected for a lot of time, and you can find yourself with maybe inflation of the token without you knowing, or people convincing you of something that is not true. So the effort to make zero knowledge proof secure is a different beast than regular software. And so people are working on it differently. They're paying attention to all the details that form the entire ecosystem of zero knowledge proofs. And roughly speaking, there's the moment you create a proof, there's the moment you verify the proof, and before the moment you created the proof, there is agreeing together what are we going to prove. So when you're doing ZK compression or like scaling or ZK sync, ZK rollups efforts, what you want to prove is the correct functioning of a blockchain. But even that is like a very sophisticated beast. So understanding what you're proving and then forming the proofs correctly and verifying correctly, all of these require a lot of effort. And there's efforts in the industry focusing on each of those aspects. One of the most exciting things that's happening right now with the Ethereum Foundation is a project called ZK EVM formal verification, which is the ability to take the ZK EVM or the proof of an Ethereum virtual machine and verify that it happened correctly. We're actually in Qedit and in ZK Proof, we're leading a sort of sister effort to that, which is the verified verifier. That's the last step in all of this chain, is to verify that the proof is valid. Verified verifier is yet another effort to check that the software is functioning correctly so that we can squeeze out bugs and feel at least more secure about what we're doing. It's both those efforts are pretty large, and and we have the hope that these efforts are once and for all. If you prove once and for all mathematically that a piece of software worked correctly, then you're done with it, at least until there's a new zero knowledge proof invented. And there's new zero knowledge proofs invented all the time. But for those that exist out there, you'll have software that will be secure and with less bugs.
Nice. It's super interesting that you mentioned formal verification. But as we know, like even for this tool, like formal verification, it also has its limitations, right? So I'm curious how effective can it be? Like for example, it can cover like 80% or 90% of the, the potential problems, or and also like can we do it in a scalable way?
It's I cannot say with certainty that we can, but I can say that there's a lot of people that are trying. It's the frontier of the blockchain experiment right now. Can we formally verify large aspects of what we're doing? I think in zero knowledge specifically, in the technology that is underlying all of these products, we can focus on the verifier of zero knowledge, and with a high degree of certainty, we will manage to verify that. And so that's what ZK Proof is trying to achieve. We stand a chance of achieving it. There's already examples out there from the Nethermind and ZK Sync teams that have shown progress. This is the verified verifier. We chose to do it on a specific zero knowledge proof technique called Groth 16, which is very, very popular. One of the moments where we knew this is going to move forward is when, in a conversation with Vitalik, we tried to, situate what are we trying to do with Groth 16. We're not trying to enshrine it as the thing that everybody needs to do, because it's today, by now it's kind of old. It's really from years ago, and there's newer techniques. But because this is a technique that today is being used by many ZK rollups, and there's precompiles in Ethereum, so this is rather technical, but there's Ethereum is already using it extensively. Then we've come to an agreement that squeezing out all the bugs in this particular scheme as a first step, that's a good first step for formal verification, and it will show the road of more security in Ethereum and more security in zero knowledge, how it's done and how to achieve it. And from the user's perspective, they can rely on the fact that there's a lot of efforts being put at securing the applications they're using.
Just a quick follow-up. So I'm not technical, but I'm just in case like people are curious about more details about this ZK verifier. So what's included in this ZK verifier? Like, are you going to verify the correctness of the circuit, or like the smart contract actually runs the circuit, or yeah, what's included?
So the big dream is to have all of Ethereum specified at a very high level. So describing exactly what happens in the EVM to a level that then you look at the software that implemented this specification, and you can say if the software does what is expected or is deviating. And if we do the work, and this is work led by Alex Hicks at the Ethereum Foundation, if this is a success, EVM will be, the Ethereum virtual machine will be one of the most sophisticated financial systems in the world, because it will have a definition of what happens in every different case that is mathematical. Once you have that, you can prove things about the smart contracts that run on it. You can build on top of this the trust in the underlying engine much more. So the end game is really squeezing out bugs and trusting math more and more and more. You want to trust the math for the software. You want to trust the math for the zero knowledge proofs. Every piece of the puzzle, if you can move to demonstrating things mathematically, then you have less trust in what the particular programmer did that day, and if if they missed some aspect of the system, because this is very complex systems. Every time there's a feature, it interacts with all the other features. Maybe in that interaction there's a bug. So that's what computers are really good for. They can prove statements mathematically if you give them the right framework. And the holy grail is to prove all of Ethereum and all of the roll-up techniques that are applied on Ethereum.
Okay, thank you. So John, we put a lot of emphasis in this conversation on challenges, and to conclude this chapter, I want to ask you once again on challenges, and this time the boundary between Web 2 and Web 3. As someone who's been working with both, I mean, the mental model that I have in mind is that the boundary is very fluid, meaning that if you are a Web 2 company, like a big company like Microsoft, Google, you can just decide one day to decentralize part of your service by removing centralized elements and start to use, let's say, zero knowledge proving or some other techniques from Web3. I wonder if like I'm oversimplifying things. What other barriers to entry you found working with Web2 companies, trying to convince them to move into more of like a Web3 ethos, or you know what, like even not just Web2, but like banks. You know, you worked with like these big organizations, traditional organizations. Like, what can you say about these challenges?
I'm actually pretty optimistic about it from several aspects. One is more and more people have experienced the gesture of using crypto, and so it's less foreign to them what crypto is about. And I'm talking about crypto very, widely speaking. And it's actually very natural for people, because when you use tools, even in Web 2, you are already in this cycle of, should I trust the tools that I'm using? Do they have bugs? There's always security, announcements, and then you need to update your browser and update your software. You're constantly updating the regular software that you're using, because it faces real world challenges. And the spirit of crypto is verifying everything, trusting the least possible, and on the basis of this very limited trust, creating entire financial services and other services. So I think those two aspects are merging. You, as an end user, you look at your entire machine and your interaction with your computer and your phone as a place where there's a lot that you can do, but there's a lot of possible dangers and bugs and hacks and things like this. And you want the strongest tools available to give you confidence that that your information is not leaking, and you're achieving what you want with your tools. So in crypto, the main roadmap has been starting with engineering and mathematics and building blocks principles that allow you to know what you trust, and build on top of that layers and layers of trust. And in regular software, we're reaching that point where people stop trusting just blindly what they see, and they're questioning, am I confronted with a real screen, or is this a fake screen? And how can I tell the difference? So those two worlds are beginning to merge, and you have entire teams in regular companies that are already bathing in these ideas of trusting less. So from my perspective, I believe that most of the tools that we will use as users will have more explicit trust, you know, definitions. You will know exactly what you get, and you will know who you're talking to, and when the other side is authenticated, and what the other side promises to you, and what you can believe, and what is less believable. All those aspects are fundamentals to how the crypto world works, at least from an engineering perspective. So banks are seeing that. The banks are already adopting the most advanced cryptographic techniques and the most advanced, uh, you know, angle on the world on who to trust and how to interact with their clients. And it's everything is resembling wallets that you see in crypto with a strong authentication of the user and registering what the user wants with cryptography. This is all merging in the same direction.
Amazing. John, we cannot skip the opportunity of also asking you about ZK proof. You've been one of the driving forces behind this effort for many years now. So next year we're going to have the seventh edition of ZK proof. First, that's
Yes.
remarkable. That's really like awesome and amazing. Maybe you can share more about initiatives that right now are sorry. Maybe you can tell us a bit more about initiatives and standards that are currently at the focus of ZK proof.
Yeah, thank you. This is really a big community effort from by now more than 1,000 people that have participated and pushed forward the work at ZK Proof. So we're doing several things. There's a focus on trying to find the standards that unite the industry. So there's a work on Plonk. Plonk is one of those zero knowledge proof systems that are in wide use today. I mentioned before there's the work on the verified verifier, which is formal verification of Groth 16. We are in close collaboration with the effort at the Ethereum Foundation for the formal verification of ZK EVM. So in ZK Proof 7, we'll actually dedicate a whole day to ZK EVMs and how to use the tools to prove the security and all the specifications of EVM. We have a big collaboration with NIST. So NIST is looking at ZK Proof as the place where the different schemes of zero knowledge are, let's say, presented and described. There's trade-offs for each of those zero knowledge proof systems, and those trade-offs are on stage presented, debated with the people that created the different schemes, which allows for a deeper conversation. And our big effort is to make sure that the conversation at ZK Proof is always from substance, from a concrete academic point of view, or from results from the ground, benchmarking, and people have a place to voice all of their opinions on everything that's being developed in the community. And I have to say the last one, ZK Proof 6 in Berlin, the biggest joy was to see again the smiles of people coming together after they haven't met for a while, to take half an hour on the side and hash out some ideas on what's next. This conference, ZK Proof 7 in Sofia, is also in parallel to HACS, HACS, which is a small workshop that has been for many years focusing on applied cryptography. So we really like what they're doing and hope to have a strong collaboration with the zero knowledge proof community. And it happens right before real world crypto, which is a huge cryptography event that happens every year. So we think that week of events is going to be an amazing place to experience.
Thank you, John. So I'm curious, since the technology is still evolving with new algorithms and iterations emerging, So is now a good timing to push for standardization?
Yeah, that's actually a question that we've been getting since 2018 when we started zkproof.org. And it's the constant tension of a standardization effort, because by definition, you cannot standardize something that is moving. And if you start standardizing, you're basically standardizing the past. And uh, anything worth standardizing is something that has proven itself. And if it proved itself, it means that time has passed. So it's already old. So when we started the effort in 2018, the idea was to put a question mark. Should we standardize? And can we summarize 30 years of work on zero knowledge? Where did we land? Where are we now? And at that time, Groth 16 just came out and was used in Zcash and others. Retroactively, Groth 16 was actually a pretty good place to stop because it hasn't changed much afterwards. And yes, there were a lot of big jumps in many different directions in zero knowledge that advanced the lack of need for trusted setup and post-quantum, quantum resistance and a lot of things. But Groth 16 itself hasn't changed and has been used a lot. So we're saying at ZKProof, we try to invite people to talk about the latest and what they think will be the end game for a zero knowledge proof scheme. And that is changing by the day. You have now things like Jolt and Lasso, and you have the latest efforts, the iterations on Fry. Those are building blocks under Starks and Snarks that are happening and evolving every day. Folding schemes, recursions, all these things are happening and evolving, but we still need to decide on the past, what do we keep and what can we standardize? And we said, okay, let's start first with what's not changing and still being widely used, Groth 16. That's why we decided to bless the verifier of Groth 16 as the first project where we squeeze out bugs and do formal verification. I expect that Plonk, which we're working on today, will also stabilize enough to be a standard in the future. And I expect that all of the family of sumcheck protocols and Fry-based, hashing-based snarks, or sometimes called Starks, those will also, stabilize into a place where we can start standardizing. In any case, NIST is looking at us at the work and trying to figure out what can be recommended for the industry, and we have a role in that conversation to have all schemes represented, discussed, and looked at.
Great. So maybe we shall revisit it 2 years later.
Or maybe do a podcast on the stage of ZK Proof. That can also work.
Nice. Sounds good.
So just to be clear, if I want to get more involved in the efforts of ZK Proof, what should I do? Where should I look?
So it's in the name. It's zkproof.org. You just go there. You will have, if you want, a place to register for the next event. And right now, I think it's a very early bird. And you also have all of the links to all of the YouTubes of the many events that happened before, streamed and recorded and available for free to everyone. This one as well will be available live streaming for anyone that cannot make it to Sofia. So you have a choice. You can pay for a ticket or you can sit home and watch it. It's much better if you can raise your hand and ask your questions in the room, but it's available for everyone.
I can attest personally that the audience in these events are especially high quality. I can tell that last time I was in an event, I met with Ran Canetti, and there was
Yes.
like nothing special about the conversation with Ran, and that's the thing, right? It was just like a casual conversation with Ran Canetti. So that's for me it's a big thing, but just to show you that just a good place to come and hang and talk about like ZK stuff and actually move the needle in a very important direction. So anyway, John, this was a pleasure. We have one last
Me too.
question, which we ask everyone, and this is to name a project, another project that you are bullish about.
So I wanted to name something that was not related to any work we do, but that I keep an eye on, and this is the BitVM project. I started my cryptography life in Bitcoin, or not cryptography, but crypto in Bitcoin, and it will always be the first. This is the currency that made me lose weeks of sleep reading the Bitcoin Talk forums back in 2012 and imagining a world with this currency. And all of a sudden, there's a bunch of people that through I don't know what magic managed to prove a snark on chain. Of course, it's like 2 weeks of work on and an enormous amount of fees and blocks, and it's all very complicated mechanics. But somebody is working on, like many people are working on figuring out how to prove snarks on chain, and that opens up so much on Bitcoin itself. So I'm really looking at that as a very interesting kind of hacker project that I want to see the outcome of. And we haven't talked about any of it at all in any of the conversation, but next to our beloved ecosystem, there's been the rise of all of LLMs and AI, generative AI. We're all, in awe with what you can do with these tools, and it's very, very obvious that the interaction between crypto and generative AI is going to explode. We have internal ideas about it at Qedit, and every worthy crypto, project has something going on with Gen AI. So that's not a specific project, but it's just like, yeah, that exists, and it's just now a substrate that everything else is working on.
Absolutely. Now we got some food for thought until next time. And with this note, we want to say thank you, John, for joining us. It was a real pleasure listening to you.
Thank you very much.
We added some links in the show notes in case you want to get in touch with John or with one of his projects. Finally, I want to thank Queenie for co-hosting with me. See you next time.